What are the first 10 things that you need to buy as a triathlete? If you're going to be putting in a lot of training, a lot of time in the saddle, you want to make sure. Now, I'll give you a bonus tip. Trainiacs, Zwift can push you. If you want to follow along, name is T, and then the last name is Triathlon Taren. You see what I did there? Sneaky. So today we're going to talk about, let's say, assuming you've done your first race, maybe your second race, or you're coming into the sport and you're like, that's it, I'm committed, let's do this. In those first couple races, you're just kind of slamming whatever gear you absolutely minimally need together. But today we're going to talk about, if you're committed, what are the first 10 things that you need to buy as a triathlete? But first, an entire day of work, okay? So we gotta fast forward to those 10 things right now. All right, Trainiacs, let's go swim, bike, run with the 10 things that new triathletes need. Number 1, you need yourself a Speedo. I mean, you're not all gonna look as damn fun as I do in my pepatogs, but you can try. Now get yourself a Speedo if you're feeling daring, or a set of jammers that go longer down, and then build your way into the Speedo. Awesomeness doesn't have to happen in one day. Next thing you need if you're committed to the sport is a wetsuit. Now I would recommend getting yourself a cheap wetsuit. Maybe in your first race you rent a wetsuit, but certainly by the second race, if you're gonna do this sport, it doesn't make any sense to be renting a wetsuit because it costs anywhere in between about $50 and $100 per time that you rent a wetsuit, plus you're in somebody else's pee, I guarantee it. And you can go and get yourself some wetsuits that are really good, gonna last a long time for about $200. And in a worst case scenario, if you don't end up sticking with the sport, you can sell those $200 wetsuits for probably $100 to $130, and then you're paying even less than if you had rented. I really dug this wetsuit when I was in Austin. Fast, personal bests, everything was nice and buoyant. Big fan, Tier. Now, the last thing that you need on the swim front is something that I carry around with me all the time in my backpack, because you never know when you're going to be out and about traveling and you need to get yourself a pair of goggles. Now, these ones specifically are mirrored goggles, and I recommend having mirrored goggles as your first and only set of goggles because they work in open water and they can work in a pool. If you're to get yourself a set of pool goggles that aren't mirrored, when you get out into open water, there's going to be a ton of glare on that water and you're not going to be able to see. So mirrored goggles will be a little bit more versatile. All right, onto the bike. Okay, so assuming that your first triathlon bike is typically going to be a road bike that you're adapting for triathlon, the first thing that you should be getting on that bike is a set of aero bars. Now, I have an actual dedicated road bike, but the aero bars that you get for a road bike, they clip on here so that you can get down into that aero position, because somewhere around 80 to 85% of the drag that we experience as triathletes, road cyclists, mountain bikers, that drag is coming from our body, not the bike. So the more narrow and aerodynamic you can make your frontal profile, the better you're going to be. Now, in addition to that, the next thing that you should get on the bike relates to that aero position, is a proper bike fit. So it's less about getting something and it's about getting a service. If you're going to be putting in a lot of training, a lot of time in the saddle, you want to make sure that your bike is set up properly for your body structure. If you're too aggressive, if you're trying to be too low, if you're trying to be too aerodynamic, if you have a bike that isn't sized properly and you're stretching too much, or you're crunched too much, or maybe you have one imbalance on a leg that isn't matched on the other leg, and that's not reflected in the insoles that you've got in your shoes. There are any one of a number of things that can be fixed in a bike fit to adapt to your body and make sure that you're putting as much power into the pedals and less power into just keeping your body together. This is going to make sure that you avoid as much injury as possible and that you've got durability in your bike training so that all you have to worry about is putting in the work. Now, the next thing that you should be looking at getting as a serious triathlete is a bike trainer. More than 50% of the typical race is taken up by the bike. The bike is the only sport of the three that we do that is basically a straight correlation of time spent on the bike makes you faster in the race. And the thing about the trainer is that it's going to make sure that whether it's rainy or snowy or sleety or construction-y or busy or hard to get to a safe place, that you can go on an actual bike ride that isn't start and stop. Bike trainer is going to be the key to consistency and purposeful workouts on the bike. All right, the next two things that I think that you should get are some triathlon shorts and a cycling jersey. Now, speaking about triathlon shorts as opposed to cycling shorts, the chamois in the tri shorts is going to be a lot smaller, so that means that you can do a race in it, but you're still going to have a chamois, so you can still do cycling workouts. You can go out riding outside, inside, and you're going to have some padding there. But then when you get to a race, you're not going to have this big chamois that turns into diaper butt during a race. If you were to get cycling shorts instead, you're going to have diaper butt in a race, so you could use them for cycling but not a triathlon, which is why I recommend, if you're keeping it minimal and just getting into the sport, picking away at certain things and getting the least that you need, tri shorts. In the same token, a cycling jersey will work fairly well in a race. It's not necessarily going to bunch up as long as you get one that fits nice and tight, but it's going to be fairly aerodynamic on the bike. It's going to fit under a wetsuit. You can run in it and it's not going to be the worst. But if you get a triathlon top, it's going to be less enjoyable to go out and do those cycling workouts outside because your shoulders are exposed and you're going to be developing likely a fair bit of sunburn. So I recommend, for starters, cycling jersey and tri shorts. Oh, and by the way, if you want to look excellent in these Trainiac tri shorts and cycling jersey, triathlontaren.com. Underneath gear, there's a link to where you can get all this stuff. It's awesome. Running. So now running fortunately gives us a little bit of a break on the gear side of things. It's not nearly as intense as biking or swimming. We don't need as much. All you really need for your running gear that's critical is a good set of running shoes. These are the On Running Clouds. I like On Running, but I also have used Hoka's. I've used Skechers. I've used Newton's. Basically, find a type of runner, whether it's neutral or stability or low drop or zero drop or no drop or built up and cushy or minimal. Figure out what types of runners work for you by trying a few, and they only last about 200 or 300 miles. So if you're training a lot, you should be able to try quite a few over the course of a season. Work with your local running shop and get a recommendation on what should work for your body structure, and then go with that. But don't be going with the Zellers and Sears cheapo shoes that you used in your first couple of races. You need to take care of your feet and you need to take care of your body by having proper structure and a good amount of cushioning. On that note, last thing you need is a whole bunch of injury prevention gear. And what you need is different than what I need. Basically, just start thinking along the lines of being conscious of injury prevention. So whether it's something for your feet, something for your legs, something for your foot stability health, something for foot blood flow. I got a lot of foot problems right now, so we got a lot of foot injury stuff. Just be conscious of taking care of your body with maintenance and injury prevention before it gets too serious. Now, I'll give you a bonus tip. Enter a race. Yeah, spend some money, and before you even really know what your goals are, try to always have a race or a big goal that scares you just a little bit to train for. I find that without a goal, without something that I'm training for, I'm just kind of going through the motions of training, and it's really hard to motivate myself to get up every day, to go really hard in the workout. And if you've got a goal that you're a little bit scared of, that goal and that little bit of fear is going to motivate you to train a little bit harder, a little bit more regularly, because you're going to be scared that if you don't, you might have a tough day. So I recommend, in addition to all of the stuff, making sure that you're constantly looking forward to what's next and how you can improve. If you're interested in any of the gear that I've got, go to kit.com/Triathlon Taren, where I list as much of the gear that I use regularly and feel confident enough to say that it is something that I use regularly. So check that out, and yeah, this should get you going. Later, Trainiacs.